Hardspace Shipbreaker should be a horror game. You start by signing an employment contract you don't entirely understand and agreeing to terms and conditions you don't entirely read. You watch an onboarding video welcoming you to the corporate family and explaining your work as a cutter, tearing off bits of metal from old spaceships. It's a lot, but it's a fresh start, a new life off a dead Earth. So sure, you agree to the job, to genetic extraction. Before realizing, you probably should have read those terms and conditions.
The process of genetic extraction will destroy your original body. Beginning extraction now.
And the first thing your new cloned eyes see is red. 1,252,594,441 and 92 cents. So you get to work, flailing around in zero-G, cold and silent and stifling. You're given nowhere near enough training, and then thrown into the job, working off your debt a few dollars at a time. And when you inevitably explode, or are electrocuted, or die gasping for air, you are reborn in a spare cloned body, tools in hand, and $150K more in the hole. This is your life. Work, die, sleep. Work, die, sleep. And yet, despite this hostile work and dystopian world, Hardspace is not a horror game. It's methodical and satisfying, cozy even. Hardspace is far from the first game to turn dangerous and underpaid labor into a zen and relaxed experience. There's House Flipper and Farming Simulator, Truck Simulator Oregon and Truck Simulator Washington, Truck Simulator pretty much every single state. But Hardspace isn't just interested in what makes labor satisfying. It's interested in what makes you proud of it. Part of this is the sheer difficulty of the work. Cutting apart a ship is never a simple task. There are fuel lines to disconnect, coolant to release, atmospheres to depressurize. You will inevitably mess up, trigger a reactor explosion that demolishes a salvage, and my poor laptop's graphics card. But experience is a good teacher, and death, it turns out, is even better. Over hours and hours, you learn the most efficient way to disconnect the fuel tanks of a Javelin class and salvage the thrusters of an Atlas. The work is tough mechanically, but also mentally. There's a base level of concentration needed at all times, a concentration that lends itself to dangerous shortcuts and easy mistakes. But the difficulty of this labor instills a sense of pride in it, in knowing not just that you did a complicated task, but that you did it well. This is further reinforced by the aesthetic beauty of your work. Hardspace wants you to be proud, and it's hard not to when you send a group of tethers soaring off into the distance, or see the stars past a disconnected hull plate. And if this was it, Hardspace would be pleasant, a game about how good it feels to do a good job. But Hardspace also understands that pride alone isn't enough. Sometimes, you need to start a goddamn fire. A little ways into the game, a fellow cutter tells you about something they heard, something that hasn't existed in 100 years, something likely dangerous, definitely illegal. They tell you about a union. It isn't long till the company finds out too, and tightens their already iron grip. Your already short hazard training is eliminated entirely, meaning you make more mistakes, meaning you die more, meaning that red debt just keeps going up. Any casual conversation with your nearby cutters is cut off in the name of productivity. And perhaps worst of all, you have a new manager, who is just...
The Lynx Employee Handbook says that avoiding chatter makes profits fatter.
You're still doing your job, and still feeling pretty good about it. And the game never suggests you should feel ashamed or guilty about this pride. It understands that this feeling can exist in, and sometimes because of, dangerous working conditions. The game also understands that this tension is not tenable. Pride only goes so far when it's undercut by your new quotas, your new unnecessary deaths, your new awful boss. and the game understands you can be proud of your work and still be fucking furious. In May 1886, striking workers in Chicago were at war, fighting for the 8-hour workday. Many were immigrants, paid 15 cents an hour to work in brutal conditions for more than 60 hours a week. On May 3rd, police opened fire on protesters confronting strikebreakers. 6 protesters were killed. The next day, they gathered here. Despite the awful weather conditions, an estimated 3,000 people turned out to protest. They were not intimidated by the large police presence, and the protest was peaceful. So peaceful, the mayor, who had stopped by to observe, went home early. Around 10:30, when the crowd had dwindled and was about to leave, police streamed out of alleys and buildings, demanding the crowd disperse. The group, remembering the 6 people shot dead by these very same officers barely 24 hours ago, stood frozen. And at that moment, a bomb was thrown at the officers. The police fired into the crowd for minutes on end. One lieutenant said, "Fire and kill all that you can." When the smoke cleared, all that remained were the bodies. The Chicago Tribune estimated over 50 dead or wounded workers laid screaming in the streets. And as for the police, although 7 officers died, only 1 was actually killed by the bomb. The other 6, historians and contemporary reports suggest, killed by friendly fire. In the weeks after, police raided and ransacked the homes and businesses of protesters, often illegally. 8 activists were found guilty in what is now recognized as a sham trial. 3 of them were later pardoned by the Illinois governor, who said that there was no connection between the men and the bomb. 4 had already been executed. 1 had committed suicide the night before. But the story doesn't end there, and I don't want this to be your takeaway. Because May 1st, 4 years later, was the first International Workers' Day. And although the day was chosen in remembrance of the Chicago martyrs, it wasn't a funeral march, but a celebration. The New York World wrote, "Parade of jubilant working men in all the trade centers of the civilized world." In Germany, workers held festivals on the outskirts of cities. In London, 500,000 gathered in Hyde Park. In Chicago, despite the terror inflicted on them just a few years ago, 30,000 workers marched to Lake Michigan to celebrate their skills and demand better. And that is what I see in this memorial. Not just pride and labor, but a determination and grit born of that pride. When the strike finally comes in Hardspace, it comes loud. You flow down to the yard, something you've done 100 times by now. You look at this salvage and your tools, and think about the pride you feel in your shipbreaking. And then you think of all the times the company has told you that this pride is all you deserve, that any safety precautions, any solidarity with your coworkers, any hope of change is just whining. You think of the idea that work is its own reward, and that this reward should be enough. And then you blow that idea to pieces. After spending dozens of hours carefully dissecting these ships, it is a joy to just tear one apart. You trash valuables, throw reactors into the incinerator, make every mistake that your hands once trembled over. And over the yelling by the manager and the fear of finally doing something is joy and dignity and community and the hope that things can change. And that is the labor that Hardspace captures. Not just being proud of your work, but being proud enough to fight for it. Like Hardspace, Citizen Sleeper 2 imagines space not as the final frontier, but a new one, in making people's labor a living hell. Like Hardspace, Citizen Sleeper 2 begins with a brain scan. Years before the game starts, you, technically you, were in debt. You agreed to an easy deal. Your brain would be scanned, you'd be put into cryosleep, and when you woke, years later, you'd be magically debt-free. All you would have to do is not think about what got you there. Because, while you slept peacefully, your scanned mind would be put into a mechanical body, a sleeper. And while you had a nice nap, this copy would work as a corporate slave, performing hard labor that would kill any flesh and blood person. Any resistance or escape is stopped by a built-in trap. Planned obsolescence of the sleeper, self-destruction, prevented only by an expensive drug. I'll give you one guess who doles that out. These are awful work conditions, and the life of a sleeper is brutal and short. But this is not where Citizen Sleeper 2 begins, and this is not the labor it depicts. It begins with you escaping from this control, from the gangster who bought and enslaved you. And the labor you do is not for corporate profits, but for other people like you. Despite its metal bones and cold space, Citizen Sleeper 2 is an incredibly warm game. The labor in the game takes place on contracts. These are jobs, hard jobs. And while you never have to manually decouple a thruster or extract a reactor, it's mostly dice allocation, the work is far more stressful. Supplies tick down one day at a time. Stress rises as you and your crew bicker. Every mistake damages your metal body, giving you less actions to take, making every risk that much more necessary. You succeed, but quite often, you fail, too. You slink back to the station, vinyl skin in tatters, sit in your bunk, and wonder why you keep going. But like Hardspace, the stress and physical damage of this labor doesn't diminish the pride you feel. This is because you're never alone. Each contract requires 2 crewmates, and the 2 dice each crewmate provides nearly doubles your available actions. You quite literally cannot complete these jobs on your own. And while you may argue and fight with them, your crew are always there for you. Bliss will repair your broken body. Seraphin will chart courses and call in connections to help free you permanently. On the contract, your crewmates take stress for you, shouldering the burden and preventing you from damaging yourself. And when the work is done, they'll celebrate with you and talk about their dreams, just a little bit closer after every job. And this pride, from your labor being part of a community, extends to the jobs themselves. You dig through an icy asteroid for water samples, helping stop a station from starving. You search an abandoned refugee ship for seeds and reminders of home. Taking these contracts means sacrificing your time and body for somebody else, sometimes with the promise of a reward, sometimes because they just need it. The game knows that this pride that comes from helping someone with real risk to yourself is special. And the game's not naive. People will take advantage of your labor. You will make mistakes. But kindness is rarely a complete mistake. And when you look out from your ship at this map of stations, you feel good. Even if the labor is breaking your body, even if the cash is running low, you still have people. People in the crew behind you, and people in the stars out there. Cleaning is a popular subject for games about labor, but it's hard to feel proud in them. In Powerwash Simulator, cleaning a house is mostly an exercise in patience. You soap, you scrub, you wait. There's no effort or focus required. It's common to hear these described as podcast games. Games that provide an easy task while your brain thinks about what you had for dinner or listen to what the Blank Check crew thought about Ella McKay. Perfect Days, a 2023 film directed by Wim Wenders, is about cleaning. In some ways, it's the least radical of the works we've discussed. It follows a few days in the life of Hirayama. He wakes up, listens to an impeccable selection of sadly copyrighted music, and goes to work, cleaning public toilets across Tokyo. He eats dinner, goes to the bath, it's a few encounters with other quiet souls, but mostly it's the cleaning. There's no strike, no mutual aid, no outer space. But from another angle, Perfect Days may be the most radical of these works, because Perfect Days suggests that pride from labor can be not just an emotion, but a path towards inner peace. Hirayama approaches cleaning with a monk-like focus. He works in near silence, moving methodically, with purpose and long practice. The tenderness with which he treats the toilets is closer to an art restoration than sanitation. It's clear from his deliberateness that he not only feels pride in his work, but something more. It can be hard at the start of the movie to understand his devotion. It's hard for his coworkers.
平山さんやりすぎっす。どうせ汚れるんだから。
But as we spend more time with Hirayama, we begin to understand his care. As we watch him scrub and scrub, our own minds stop wondering about what we're having for dinner, and simply exist in the motion of a mop. Of all things, the movie reminds me most of my experiences with DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, a kind of cognitive behavioral therapy with an emphasis on mindfulness. Many DBT exercises focus on this kind of focus. Closing your eyes and imagining a river, blocking out everything but the sound of the water rushing past. In Hirayama's labor, I see this same focus. He is proud not just because he is good at his job, but because his job represents the same mindfulness that he applies everywhere. He takes careful black and white photos in the park, reads poetry by lamp. Every morning, before going to work, he looks at the sky and smiles. Some critics have argued that the film is, ironically, sanitizing this kind of labor. And I understand where those critiques come from, but I don't think they quite land. For one, the labor is never depicted as easy. Hirayama works long hours, and when his coworker abruptly quits, he spends the day rushing across the city, visibly stressed and overextended. And while Japan has severe problems with labor, the wage inequality surrounding this kind of manual work is nowhere near as extreme as in many other countries. It's a lot easier to achieve mindfulness when you're not living in fear of a missed paycheck. But above all, Perfect Days is not about systemic inequality or grand revolution. It's about being proud of your work and finding peace in that pride. That's easier some days than others, but Hirayama keeps trying. I think I'll keep trying too.
今度は今度。今は今。
Each of these stories depict labor honestly, something that can exhaust and even break you. But they also explore the pride that comes with it, and where that pride can take us. I think these kinds of stories are important right now. People are being told that their skills are worthless, their degrees are just paper, their labor is replaceable. It doesn't matter what field, white collar, blue collar, artist, or academia, people are being told day in and day out that their labor does not exist in the future that tech CEOs dream of. And it's easy to catastrophize, to think that your work is meaningless, that anything you do does not matter. But it does. You matter. And I'm proud of you already.